Good morning, everyone. It is my greatest pleasure to welcome you all to our second, the Anglo-ESU Public Speaking Competition. We started this competition 2 years ago in March 2020, 1 week before the pandemic hit Mexico and changed the world as we knew it. Originally, this competition had just 2 categories, A and B, and now we're having 3 categories to join all the people from the Anglo. The Anglo-ESU Public Speaking Competition is one of the main social impact programs, as the mission of the Anglo-Mexican Foundation is to transform people's lives by building bridges, trust, and connecting cultures. This year, we had 74 students participating in all the categories from 7 states of our country, and even including a competitor abroad. Words have power, and public speaking is a wonderful skill that helps to improve communication skills by critical thinking while building self-esteem, since being able to speak in front of a crowd is a huge accomplishment. Before we begin, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for all the people that were involved in this competition. On behalf of the Anglo Arts team, we would like to thank everyone at the Anglo-Mexican Foundation, the English-Speaking Union Mexico, and the Asociación Mexicana de Debate for helping us make this happen. And now, let's introduce our adjudicators. From Asociación Mexicana de Debate, we have Sergio Luna. So, joining us from Asociación Mexicana de Debate, we have César Rivas. Representing the English-Speaking Union Mexico, we have Rodrigo Ponciano. From the Anglo-Mexican Foundation, we have Mari Carmen González, the Anglo Director. And also from the Anglo-Mexican Foundation, we have Jimena Lara, our Chief Culture and Social Impact Officer. Thank you all for joining us today. Now, for all of you who are joining us for the first time, let me explain how the competition works. Our participants previously wrote and delivered 5-minute speech, the title and content related to the themes of the competition. They interpreted the theme in any way they wanted, and today, after 2 weeks of working and perfecting it, they will present it at this grand final. After they deliver their speech, our adjudicators will ask them 2 questions, and finally, they will be graded on the following rubrics: expression and delivery, reasoning and analysis, organization and prioritization, and listening and response. Our competitors developed the theme, "Our real choices are made without us realizing." Let's welcome Carmen Jimenez with the title of the speech, "Tic-tac, tic-tac, you need to decide now." Come join us.
Okay, can you hear me properly? Right. Tick, tock, tick, tock. You need to decide now. A day is made up of 24 hours. An hour is made up of 60 minutes. And a minute contains 60 seconds. This is how time works. Our perception of time is subjective because it changes according to each person and their notion of time. This one is constantly changing depending on the circumstances and for how long the person wants it to end. But most of us are constantly thinking about the past, present, and future. Every second that passes becomes past and will be forever. Forever is also a part of time. It means for all time or for indefinite time. Our lives revolve around time. It advances, and therefore we are advancing with it. The past are the decisions and the actions we had taken and had brought us to where we are. The present is what we live and are living today. And the future is what we plan, but it's also the unforeseen. Many things will happen as we plan, but things that we do not expect will also happen. There are so many variables about what could happen in the future, and we will not know the right one until the right time arrives. Have you ever wished that time runs slower? Yasutaka Tsutsu once said, "Time waits for no one." And it is completely true. We're constantly trying to organize our activities, needs, hobbies, and compromises according to the passage of time. It advances, and therefore we are advancing with it. Sometimes we can feel that time is not enough for us, but this one will continue to advance. And you as a person need to decide what to do with that time. Be conscious about how your time is wasted, and if your actions are really worth it. Time can seem scary when we don't have enough, or we even have to do something by a certain time. For example, having a due date for a task, arriving at a certain place at a certain hour, or even have to do all your planned activities in one day. We're always making decisions. Some may or may not affect our lives in significant ways, but this one can change completely depending on how long we take to decide. The butterfly effect, created by Edward Norton Lawrence, said that the existence of a certain situation or action can create a series of successive situations or actions that will create a considerable effect that does not seem to correspond to the element that started. Analyzing this theory, there are several examples that support it. For example, in a hypothetical case, someone is driving down the road while smoking a cigarette. Once this person finishes, the cigarette is thrown through the window. Later on, the cigarette falls onto a pile of leaves, which catch fire and generate a great fire among the area. From this situation, a series of events will happen that you could never imagine, because it was an insignificant action. But what does this have to do with time? Well, if our actions were carried out at another time, things will be completely different. For example, using our hypothetical case, once again, if the person had thrown the cigarette a few seconds before, this one had simply fallen on the road, and another car would have crushed it and extinguished it. Or perhaps something else could have happened. We have no idea. Just as a part of the future is unforeseen, what could have happened in the past is also unforeseen. It's something that we don't know and we will never know. Our decisions can be sometimes quite hasty because the time is a constant pressure in our lives. So that's why sometimes we advance some process in our lives, or we are just acting without realizing what we are doing, because we try to seek time and organize our life with it. Our real choices are made without us realizing it. That is to say that there are certain decisions that we take in order to live our life in a spontaneous way. That is when we don't think about time and how to keep to a schedule. It is when you really give importance to various things in life in which you can flow in a certain way, you forget about time. However, these decisions will not be the same if we had not made them at the exact moment we did. Tick, tock, tick, tock. My time has ended.
Okay. Para las preguntas. Wonderful. Thank you, Carmen. Do we have questions from the adjudicators? Thank you, Rodrigo.
Hi, Carmen. Thank you for your speech. So, in your speech, you mentioned both this tendency to organize towards time, and then at the end, you also mentioned spontaneous enjoyment. Which do you think is better to structure one's life around, planning or spontaneity?
Society, we're constantly seek to reach time and organize our life with it. Some things might be just better when we don't think about time, because time is a constant pressure and make us don't enjoy things. That is when we don't like to do things because we have a certain time. But if we don't have time, we can be actually better and spontaneous. Things will happen in a way, just in a natural way. But time sometimes makes us pressure and make us don't enjoy this life.
Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. Okay, do we have another question from our adjudicators? Thank you, Mari Carmen.
Thank you very much, Carmen. In your speech, you mentioned reference to the past, the present, and the future. For you, what would you say is more relevant to concentrate on? The past, the present, or the future?
Mostly, the past is something that we actually have already lived, and it's something we can't change, but it has brought us and made us the people who we are now. And the future is something that we don't know. Some things we may know them, but we don't know. And the present is called present because it's a gift. Then so, we should focus more on present and be careful about what we're doing in it. Enjoy life and also try to organize time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you.
Just for you to know, today is Carmen's birthday. Happy birthday, Carmen! All right, let's continue with our second competitor of the day, Natalia Miana. The title of her speech is Media. Natalia, please join us at the stage.
Okay. Okay, so can anybody hear me? All right. So, wait, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Let me check this. Did you see that on the news yesterday? How is his hair so slick? You might be living under a rock if you've never heard about TikTok, Instagram, and I'm gonna make some of y'all feel really old right now. Facebook. Does anybody use that anymore? I don't know. Social media is what this is called. It's everywhere. And it's the way that media has advanced. Media refers to communications. It refers to how we spread the word around us, publishing, news, and on television as well. Of course, advertising. In the community we live in today, we drink media and we take it like it's water. It has changed the way we interact with other people, and how it has changed over the decades is very impressive. The media over the decades and over the last few decades has changed on a very significant way. We can see how it shifts from magazines to televisions and to now on our mobile phones, and it's found everywhere. Style. It changes style, changes fashion, spreads information, misinformation, and of course, brings a big impact into our world. It takes countless hours and it's impossible to escape. It brings people together. It brings people a different taste of life. But what if I told you it's not all chocolates and rainbows? It's not all happiness and good things that media brings. Am I the only one who agrees with the fact that humans need interaction? Am I the only one who sees how everybody went crazy over the current pandemic? Human interaction is needed for a human to have a healthy life. And in order to have a human interaction and friends, you need to have things in common. You need to fit in, be a part of the pack. And in order to do that, society has relied its way of making friends over the media. And you have to fall into a certain standard in order to be friends with somebody. It influences the way we dress, the way we act, and it's taken by other people and depending on it in order to make friends, in order to have a group. 2 years ago, it was Visco girls, it was e-girls, and it was different kinds of ways and personalities. The media has this variety, and it's its way of hiding the fact that it only has a certain standard. The media tries to cover up the fact that they are giving certain standards and not giving people creativity by having these fake diversities, these cliches. It's affecting developing minds, it's affecting the current generation, it's affecting all of our future generations and past. It's giving us a way to act, and in order to act that way, it doesn't allow us to be ourselves. Now, our real actions only happen when we don't notice that they're happening. Because if we did, we wouldn't let them happen. We wouldn't let us get embarrassed by the fact that we are dressing a certain way, that we are talking a certain way. In the moment where we don't notice that that happens, we are less dependent on it, and we let our true personality shine through. The world today is so dependent on the media. The media covers the fact that it's trying to put us in a certain standard while leaving other people affected. Some of us don't need the support of the media, of somebody else, to be ourselves. But some of us really desire it and need it. The lack of social interactions makes us talk to teddy bears of volleyball and draw it with our own blood and make sure and pretend it's a real person. We need friends. We need this in order to live, and the media is not allowing us to be ourselves because it's giving us the way that we are supposed to make friends, that we're supposed to make human interaction, and not letting us flow. Maybe you say, yes, I myself, but that yourself is shifted in the way that the media has given you. It gives you a little bit of that, a little bit of this, you grab this, this is me. But have you ever thought about who are you? What do you really like to do? And if you ignored everything around you, how and who would you be? Society needs to be less dependent on the media. Society needs to understand that being ourselves is not following a certain standard. It's following our own heart. It's following our purest decisions and desires. It's ignoring the world around us and being our true selves, because we can make friends that way. But if we only ignored that, if we ignored everything else, then we could actually meet people who really want to be our friends, who really have things in common with us. And rather than fitting into the standards that our friends have to, it's impossible to escape the media. But a whole community has to act for it, so we don't affect anybody's minds. We let them flow. We let them be themselves, feel okay with themselves, because that's the most important thing. Society needs to stop depending so much on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nati. Do we have questions from our adjudicators? Thank you, Sergio.
Thank you, Natalia. That was a nice speech. Do you think we should restrict social media use to people of a certain age?
Actually, currently is restricted to that age, but a lot of people around us ignore it. It's introduced to us when we are received with, when we have a device, and a lot of people that actually have expertise in this recommend it to be introduced later, otherwise we will become too dependent on it. But the whole world ignores that fact, so I think we should pay attention to the people who really know what they're doing, and also have the community in general and kids stop depending so much on it, because then you're the odd one out, the only one without a phone, the only one without social media.
Thank you, Nati. Jimena.
Thank you, Natalia. What would be your main suggestions for us to be better prepared to deal with this issue?
Okay, I sound okay. I think definitely understand what the concept generally is. Of course, you can use media to inspire yourself to get somewhere, but I think you should really try to get the authenticity of your actions, try to go and autonomously do things. And when you notice, oh wait, I didn't think about that and I just did it, then you can actually consider yourself to build your personality. My advice would be definitely try to figure yourself out without the help of other instruments such as the media, the social media and the media in general.
Thank you, Nati. All right, thank you. We are going to continue now with Ana Sofia Subillaga. The title of her speech is That Popular Book.
Think about a book, something we've all grabbed at least, which may or may not mean something to you. Think of the real world and the Hunger Games and something you cannot compare. Of course you can't. Or can you? The Hunger Games, where you have two options, getting killed or living, which we all know are not extravagant. You've all been in a bookstore, right? Sometimes you go there. You go buy a book you've always wanted to read, that many people told you about, saying it's so fantastic. So of course you go on and buy it. You start reading the book, and everything is normal, until you realize and close the book and say, what on earth are people reading here? The book just sucks. Sometimes you go to the bookstore, and you're there for fun. No budget, a few books, and you buy what you see. A few years ago, I was at my school's library, and we were told to choose any book we wanted to. So I didn't know what to choose. I thought I made a mistake by just telling my teacher that I didn't know what to read. And she's like, "Oh, darling, don't worry, here you go." And she chose a book. The book looked so dull, so boring, and I was just so mad. I started reading the book because I realized you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And nowadays, this is one of my favorite books, Rain, Rain, a book about a girl who loves honeymoons and her dog, Rain. The story is just so sweet. And this wasn't my decision. She chose what I would read. She chose because I didn't know what to do. And of course, when you don't know what to do, you start reading something that somebody else gives to you. Talking about weird but right decisions, this happened to Katniss too, a hero for many. Katniss has her future set by just going to the Hunger Games and fighting. If you don't know what the Hunger Games are, well, you should. You should go on and buy it. You should be delighted. The Hunger Games is a book where there is some annual event in which one girl and one boy from each of the 12 districts surrounded by the capital are selected by lottery to compete in a battle royale till death. This is one of my favorite books that a friend of mine told me it was a very good book, that I should start reading it because it was fantastic. This time I did like the book. It was amazing. It was so powerful to me, and it means the world. Katniss didn't choose what she would do. It was Susan Collins who did it. She chose what would they do. What would they say? Would they get married? Well, she decided. Her fiancé, they met each other at the Hunger Games. Her sister, her little sister, she's dead. Truly sorry to spoil. See? You didn't know I was going to talk about the Hunger Games, but yet I did. Indeed. This may be your favorite book now. Maybe after this you go on and you'll buy the book. You'll love it, and it will be your favorite book. It will be amazing for you. It will have an impact on your life. Or maybe you'll just hate the book and you will change your life and you'll say, I hate this book. This will change your life completely, in a good way or in a bad way. There are so many examples of how things we do not decide can change our life, such as wars, for example. Ukraine and Russia are now in a war, which the government decided to. They chose everything they would do. The government decided to go on and fight. The citizens didn't. The citizens decided to go on and do what they chose to, but they didn't choose the war. The citizens' lives will be completely changed. Their life may be something different. Maybe their home will be completely destroyed, or maybe the people they care about will go on and fight. So in conclusion, this being a book, a war, your rights, or a teacher's decision, many things we do not decide can happen to all of us, because people in our surroundings are affected by us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana Sofia. Do we have any questions from the adjudicators? Thank you, Cesar.
Hi, thank you, Ana Sofia, for your speech. What do you think is the most important thing we can learn from Katniss and the other guys in the Hunger Games?
Things we can like learn from them because they empower their lives, and even though they don't really like going to the Hunger Games, Katniss still does that because she loves her little sister. She sets her future. She may be dead, but she chose to help her little sister. And this is something we should all learn from. Between choosing you and someone else you love, you should choose someone else.
Thank you, Ana Sofia. Do we have another question? Thank you, Sergio.
What do you look for in a good book? Like for you right now, what are you looking for to try to get the best book? Yeah.
There are many things I look in a book, like a good story, characters, maybe a story that develops in a good way, and maybe an end that empowers your life and like makes you think, what a good book I just read. It's just so fantastic, and just be happy to read it and read it fun, like with fun, being happy about reading it, being glad.
Thank you, Ana Sofia. Let's give a warm applause. Okay, we are now continuing with Isabel Padron. The title of her speech is Story of Standards. Welcome, Isabel.
Every day, 10 women are killed in Mexico. Every day, another member of the LGBTQIA community is gruesomely attacked. Every day, we're being told what's right and what isn't, and anyone who falls outside of those standards is instantly put into danger and oppressed. But before I get to all of that, let's go back in time for a second. I'm going to tell you a story that you read when you were 5 years old and that you continue to read to this very day. Picture this. You're laying in your bed with dim lighting. In your hands, the book that your aunt just gave you for your birthday. Eager to read it, you open it and turn to the first page. Page 1. What do you see here? There's a little boy and a little girl playing with their toys. The little girl has long, beautiful hair and pretty clothes. She's playing with bunnies and teapots. Little by little, she is learning what it means to be feminine, what it means to be a woman. Little by little, she is learning to play the role that society gives her. She's being told that all a woman can do is look pretty, cook, help others, be quiet. Let me clarify that there is nothing wrong with any of these things. The issue comes in when it becomes a box that women are trapped into, when it becomes the only choice that little girls have from the moment that they start reading, from the moment that they start to live, even before they can learn to walk. So what am I talking about here? What I'm talking about are gender norms. Gender norms are the standards and expectations that society puts on people of different genders to restrict gender identities, and anyone who doesn't follow them is deemed wrong. So what you're reading right now in this book has a lot more impact than you will believe. It's not just a little girl playing with her toys. It actually affects so many things. Gender norms allow violations of human rights all around the world. A very clear example of this is with education. For example, many girls are kept from going to school in favor of gender norms because why would a girl's education be important anyway? We've seen this in so many cases. For example, with Malala, the Taliban banned many girls in Pakistan from going to school simply because they believed that it wasn't right that this was done, that they could be doing more important things with their time. And so when she tried to protest, she was shot and had to leave her country. To this day, there are many, many instances all around the world where girls can't attend school simply because of gender norms. Something else that gender norms really affect is violence against women, because they normalize being deprecative towards them, and it can lead to very grave situations. So the page that you're looking at right now is much more than you would ever expect. It's showing kids what role they can play, not only in the game, but in society as a whole. You take a deep breath and turn to the next page of your storybook. Here, what you see is the same girl and the same boy all grown up. They're developing an amazing love story, going on dates, holding hands. You keep turning the pages, but this is the only type of relationship you see. It's the only type of representation that you get. Heteronormativity is the assumption that everyone is straight. And it deems that straight relationships are the only ones that should be correct. Only a straight girl and a straight boy, nothing more. What's happening here is that there is no representation anywhere in the book that you are reading, and not anywhere else either. When you don't communicate something, you're still communicating it. You're showing people that stories that aren't straight don't deserve to be told, that they don't deserve to be normal. This is very harmful for society in general because it stigmatizes this entire topic instead of making it something normal, something to be accepted. It has gotten to the point where the life expectancy of a trans person is 35 years, only 35, because of the amount of hate that there is towards this community. It also shows LGBTQIA members that their stories aren't worth being told. It creates so much internalized homophobia that can affect people a lot. If you, the kid that's 5 years old, reading this story, sees that there is no representation for other types of relationships, then you're gonna think that it's wrong, and it's gonna take you so much longer to accept who you are. So, beneath homophobia lies so much, beneath heteronormativity lies so much homophobia and transphobia, and it shouldn't be accepted at any point. You take a deep breath once again, and you turn to the next page. Beauty standards. Turn to the next page. You see being happy. You turn to the next page, and you see the expectations for your future. This entire book is like thousands of pages long, and it gets longer every single year. If this was something that we only read once when we were 5 years old, it really wouldn't have that much of an impact. But the issue is that this is a story that's being told to us through so many different mediums and all throughout our lives. Once again, repeated to us all the time. So, this is why I believe that many of our choices have been made for us, because our brains have been taught to think in different ways because of society and how they work. However, I believe that the important part isn't what choices have been made for us. What we must ask ourselves is what choices we are making for others. It's our turn now to change the storybook being told to one where being LGBTQIA is normal, where any gender identity and expression is okay, where you don't have to follow the standards that people set upon you to be happy. So, what matters here is that although choices were made for us before, we can now make sure that that doesn't happen in the future and change the story that's being told. Thank you.
Thank you, Isa. Now we're going to have questions from adjudicators. Thank you, Rodrigo.
Hi, Isa. Thank you for your speech. Is there a particular gender norm that you have struggled with in your life so far?
If since a young age we're told what we can or cannot be as women, and more than anything, how we're supposed to express femininity and who we are. Something that I've kind of struggled with throughout my life is believing that, I have certain interests that wouldn't be deemed feminine. For example, since I was very little, I liked wearing pants, but all the girls my age were wearing skirts. Something really stupid, but that people from my own school were telling me oh, why are you wearing pants? Are you a boy? And there are many, many cases in which we've been told what we can or cannot do. And personally, I haven't been denied the right to get an education, like I was explaining before, but I think that there are still many microaggressions and things like that that impact people's lives.
Thank you, Isa. Do we have another question? Thank you, Mari Carmen.
Thank you very much. It was a very, very interesting speech. What would you say is the story of this book that has the largest impact on little girls?
To be honest, I think all of the different parts add up to it. What I was talking about here was mostly gender norms and heteronormativity, right? But to be honest, I think both of those topics are really impactful to anyone who reads them. It's not one of the issues is more important than the other. And I also believe that there's a lot of intersectionality between the two topics because part of gender norms are to believe that girls like boys and boys like girls and that they can only be the gender that they were born with and assigned with at birth. So I believe that really none of them is more important and that depending on the person, it affects them in different ways.
Thank you, Isa. Let's give applause to Isa. Okay, and now we're going to close up these speeches with Natalia Grandillo. Natalia Grandillo is going to present the title of her speech is Choose the Path of Being a Human. Nata, can you please join us?
Choose the path of humanity. Recent world events are all about real choices. We are facing a devastating situation affecting millions of people in Eastern Europe and beyond. Putin, Russia's political leader, has chosen the path of destruction. He has decided to take part of violence and has recently chosen to start a war with Ukraine, killing hundreds of innocent people only to gain more power. I often find myself wondering what it really means to be human. And I don't mean being something else, like an alien or another creature. I mean being a caring person that is willing to change the world to slowly fix it. Human people, in my view, choose the path of humanity. But what is the path of humanity? The path of humanity is being kind, caring, and respectful to others on our earth. If you see another person or animal in a difficult situation, being human makes you choose rather to help than do nothing. Human actions can be as small as picking up trash from the floor to even important decisions that country leaders have to make every day to help the millions of people in need all over the world. Being human can be something our brain does by itself. If you see a person being bullied in school, your brain will want to do something, but your heart will probably be afraid and prevent you from acting. Your brain may tell you to interfere or to ask support from the teacher, but your fear may force you to choose indifference and silence. If you don't have the skills to overcome fear to confront evil in this world, then you need to empower yourself with the courage to speak up. Information is key. It gives you the power of knowledge, also the gift of empathy, by imagining yourself in the shoes of others. The world has to be fixed, and if we want to fix it, we can't expect others to fix it for us. We are strong and capable of making great changes, even changes we don't realize we make. Our real choices are made without us realizing it. By helping a homeless person in the streets by giving them food, or by helping a classmate who dropped her pencil case, is making a small but big change. Small actions of kindness happen all the time. Simple, nice things that we do unconsciously every day are a big deal. It may seem like something small that won't really impact the world, but every single act of kindness, no matter how small it is, helps the world be a better place. It's important to keep helping our world by feeding it with kindness. If all the people in the world decide to be good human beings, the world will be a safer and more peaceful place for everyone. No matter who you are, you deserve an act of kindness and respect. But that means you have to give the same amount of love to others. If we keep feeding our world with kindness, we will slowly fix its wounds and let our home be a better place for all. Some people think that an individual choice to be kind is not enough to change the world. But, as the American philosopher Howard Zinn said, small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Who would have thought that a little girl going to school would have changed history? And then you have Ruby Bridges, the first black girl attending an only white children's school during the segregation era in USA. In 1960s, Ruby's real choice may have not intended to change the world, but it did, and it left a large footprint in history. So, if Putin had chosen the path of humanity, the people who have died and suffered because of him would have had a chance in life. Always choose to be human. Always choose humanity and kindness. As Desmond Tutu said, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. Real choices are made without us realizing it, and our choices can contribute to humanity if we intentionally make a commitment to be on the side of those who suffer and transform the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. Now we go to questions from the adjudicators. Thank you, Jimena.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Do you think that a personal history of a person affects his or her capacity to be human in any particular situation?
Well, I think that everyone can be human. Obviously, if you maybe were not choosing humanity in the past, if you maybe were a bad person in the past, you can obviously change. You can obviously evolution to be a better person, and you can learn from your past actions. So now, in the present, in the future, you are a better person, and you acknowledge that maybe you were a bad person in the past, but now you are a much better person.
Thank you, Natalia. Do we have another question? Cesar?
Thank you, Natalia, for your speech. I really enjoyed it. You mentioned how these unconscious acts of kindness can change the world, right? So what do you have to say about the unconscious acts that maybe have a negative impact?
Well, obviously, unconscious acts can be positive or negative. I mean, they're things that our brain does, well, by itself, right? But, I mean, if you kind of like train your brain, if you train yourself, if you think like a human, then you will make actions that may be good, you know? And obviously everyone in the world will make a bad action. Everyone in the world will do something bad, right? But we also do good things, right? And we have to make those good things shine. We have to make those good things overcome the bad things that we have done in the past. So, I mean, I think it just depends on the person, but obviously we can do unconscious and conscious acts that are positive.
Okay. Thank you, Natalia. Let's give an applause to Natalia. Okay, now we kindly ask our competitors to follow Sandra. There it is, Sandra, because you're going to have an interview. And adjudicators, if you can follow me to the library, we'll be back shortly with the adjudication or the delivery. Thank you. Okay, we are back. Now, in order to announce the prizes, let's welcome to announce the third place. In this case, we have Cesar.
Okay, first of all, I would like to congratulate all 5 participants. They were very solid speeches. We thoroughly enjoyed them. Unfortunately, there has to be, some sort of ranking or whatever. So, the third place of the English-speaking ESU public speaking competition is Natalia Mianar. Congratulations. She should stay here, right? Yes. Okay. Congrats.
Obviously, I am not as tall. Okay, so once again, just to reiterate, congratulations to all of the participants. In second place, and with the prize of 750 pesos to choose books for, we have Carmen Isabel Jimenez Armenta. So, congratulations, Carmen.
Thank you very much. I'm really very amazed, girls, for what you did. It's really incredible to see you, our future leaders. And the first place, it's for Isabel Padrón.
And also Sergio to deliver and hand out the other certificates, please.
I also want to congratulate all of you. We were incredibly inspired by your delivery and your speeches. And I would like to congratulate Ana Sofía Subillaga, please.
And finally, congratulations to everyone. You did a wonderful job. Please, we call to the floor Natalia Grandio Guevara.
Thank you.
And now, let's have a picture all together, so if you can join in, thank you. Sí, también sale Carmen. So, please say hi to the camera up there. Congratulations. Well, that's it. Thank you all for participating today. Thank you, adjudicators, and we'll see each other next year. Bye.
I would like to take a very short moment to say congratulations to the team that organizes. Congratulations to Anglo Arts, to the Anglo Library, to the Anglo. Congratulations, Angie, Rosie, Gabi, Sam, Marce, and everyone who helped. A big, big round of applause, please. It was wonderful.
Good morning, everyone. It is my greatest pleasure to welcome you all to the second ever the Anglo-ESU Public Speaking Competition. We started this competition 2 years ago in March 2020, 1 week before the pandemic hit Mexico and changed the world as we knew it. I would like to introduce today our top adjudicators of this category. On behalf of the ESU Mexico, we have David Atherton. Also, on behalf of ESU Mexico, we have Clive Bain. From Asociación Mexicana de Debate, we have Sergio Luna. And also from Asociación Mexicana de Debate, we have Valeria Hernández. And from the Anglo-Mexican Foundation, we have Simon Brewster. Now, we are honored to present our Chief Executive Officer, Anthony McCarthy, who will give us a message.
Good morning to everybody. Welcome to the Anglo. It's always nice to have a live event and have the people here. This event is very special to the Anglo in that a former member of our board and a former president of the Anglo, Mr. Richard Atherton, has always been a great sponsor of ESU. And we're pleased in the Anglo to take over that legacy and continue in the expansion of the role of the ESU in Mexico. We would ask you to transmit this message to your father, and we're very honored to have you here. Also to the members of the Presidium and the judges, welcome to the Anglo. We're very pleased to have you here, and I'm sure it will be a most interesting session. Just to very briefly kick off the session, I thought I'd take a few seconds off and make a quick reflection, because what's going on in the world is maybe that there's a lack of what we're going to see today, of debate. Oratory, as you all probably know, is from a Latin word, and what it really means is speaking or pleading. That's what it means, oratory. And when you have two individuals in that process, that's when it generates a debate. And it's when the intelligence meets those arguments that settlements are reached. When the oratory does not prevail, is that we have situations like those that we have presently in the Ukraine and in Russia. So if we all think about it, This is an event that hopefully we can see Anglo a process ever expanding, and that we find that through the dialogue we can always arrange our settlements, that we can come to conclusions, and that we can respect other people's opinion. So having said that, well, I would just like to again welcome everybody here. We at the Anglo are very, very excited about taking this on, and congratulations to the ESU. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind words, Mr. McCarthy. The Anglo-ESU Public Speaking Competition is one of the main social impact programs, as the mission of the Anglo-Mexican Foundation is to transform people's lives by building bridges, trust, and connecting cultures. This year, we had 74 participants from all across Mexico, from 7 states of the country, and even 1 competitor abroad. Words have power. And public speaking is a wonderful skill that helps to improve communication skills by critical thinking while building self-esteem, since being able to speak in front of a crowd is a huge accomplishment. Trust me. Before we begin, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for all the people that were involved in this competition. But now, if you are joining us for the first time, let me explain you how the competition works. Our participants previously wrote and delivered a 5-minute speech. The title and content are related to the themes of the competition. They interpreted the theme in any way they wanted, and today, after 2 weeks of perfecting, they will present it at this grand final. After they deliver their speech, our adjudicators will ask them 2 questions. Finally, they will be graded on the following rubrics: expression and delivery, reasoning and analysis, organization and prioritization, and listening and response. I would like to remind everyone here that this, and everyone that is following on YouTube Live, that this category is competing to represent Mexico at the International Public Speaking Competition organized by London's International Speaking Union, English Speaking Union. And the theme for the national competitions was "We expect too much from our heroes." Let's welcome our first competitor, Valeria Patiño, that is going to deliver a speech titled "The Male Savior." Let's give her a warm welcome.
When I speak out about feminism, what I think is right and how we may be able to fix things, I do it because I know that 33,000 girls become child brides every day. Because only 6 countries in the whole world give women equal legal work rights as men. Because around 35% of women have experienced sexual harassment in their lifetime. But I know that certain men have the privilege of doing it simply to paint a better picture of themselves. The male savior, one that expects to help women by becoming a hero that saves them, as if he is the blessing that women under a patriarchal society have been waiting for. A male savior or a manifest savior complex are those that help by putting themselves in the center and focusing on what they have been doing and how they can fix women's lives, instead of being allies and actually supporting the fight for equality. For the next 5 minutes, let me try to convince you as to why they're so harmful and why trying to be a savior is simply not enough. 1, they rob agency from women. The moment when men try to make themselves look like the savior of women is when they strip them of even being able to be the main focus of their own fight. Because a savior is always likely to be the center of attention. They're the one that gets change and that fixes things. The spotlight, therefore, is no longer on the people who are oppressed, marginalized, and suffer abuse on a daily basis, but on the men who decided that women need a savior to fix things for them. This contributes to women having a sense of uselessness because their fight has been appropriated. They are now supposed to wait for a man to come and save them. Notice how similar this sounds to same classic sexist stereotypes. I mean, the prince is supposed to save the princess, right? Could it be because they're rooted in the same values, men still being superior to women one way or the other? 2, to be a savior, you require a victim. Male saviors inherently mean that they're labeling women as victims. And whilst living in a society where, according to Amnesty, at least 10 women die every day in Mexico, and as stated by the National Crime Records Bureau, 80 women face sexual abuse every day in India, means women are at constant risk. The issue that it labels women as incapable of leading their fight and defending themselves. as if that isn't what they have been burdened to already. Women essentially were destined to be powerless victims who passively await rescue. We can once again clearly see the connection between this rhetoric and the same misogynistic speech. Women are fragile and it is strong men to come and save them. In essence, it reinforces false beliefs that imply women desperately need a man to rescue them from a society that, let's remember, men created to exclusively benefit themselves. But the most dangerous part of this is that they will most likely be engaging in a feel-good activism, where they do it to fulfill a personal agenda, to feel better about themselves and their privilege, instead of actually wanting to change the unjust world that women have to live in. 3. The biggest issue that male saviors cause in women's fight is the solution that they will likely push for are simply ineffective. Because men have not patriarchal society in the way that women have. They can never come up with the best ways to fix issues they haven't lived through. Furthermore, they probably still don't know the extent to which they affect us. Things like men saying we're an advantage because we can use our body to get free drinks, as if that wasn't a direct consequence of the objectification women have to live with. Their solutions will still probably have their lived experience. They want to benefit themselves. While this is not something I would exclusively call out men on, I think we're all egocentric creatures, we're human beings. The problem is when they're supposed to be the savior of women. With things like taking down the patriarchy, it is likely that there is a possibility to do with it. Because the patriarchy is literally the reason they have so many privileges, are able to live the way they can, and most importantly, can be a savior and not be called crazy, radical, or extreme like the women who go to fights and go march at the 8th of March do. But now let's talk about some real change. Because when we live in a capitalistic, patriarchal society, how much saving could we truly expect? I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but a single hero won't solve every issue. This is why we do need everyone to want to change something. But notice how this is highly different from becoming a savior. We need people who want to change the narrative that's sustaining injustices more than being the one in the spotlight. This looks like decentering your activism through support, helping raise women's voices, calling out sexist actions, stopping microaggressions, actively participating on self-reflection on things that may help reinforce the patriarchy. Notice how this can actually help women, but none of them with power of the fight away from them. A savior, regardless of who they are, will not single-handedly save the world or help women. Therefore, we don't need one savior. We need everyone, especially those men, to step up and help change something. We can't expect a hero to come and save the world. That's impossible. Supergirl isn't real. Instead, let us become the actors of our own change and build a world where our best option is not a half-hearted savior. Thank you.
Thank you, Valeria. Now we're going to have some questions from our adjudicators.
How would you characterize a male savior? Like, where do you find them? Who is this guy? So in certain moments, like, is it an institution, or is it like a sole person that you identify that comes up in different cultures and states? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I think that male saviors are not just one specific person, but I think that that's exactly the point, that they are so diverse and that they happen in so many instances that we can't just classify them as one, but in the end, they're gonna be harmed or be harmful in the same way. So for example, it can look like an institution that tries to help women, but essentially is just simply trying to look out for themselves in the end. It can look like a teacher trying to tell you what's feminism and what's best for women to a girl who's fighting against feminism and sexism. It can look like a president trying to tell you like the calls for like abuse are prank calls. Those types of things, I think, that are why these male saviors are so harmful, because they can happen in so many different spectrums and in so many different contexts and situations. But in the end, they're all going to be doing the same types of things. They're all going to be stripping women from agency. They're all going to be want to also pursuing their own agendas. They're going to want to rob the spotlight. So I think those types of issues are the ones that characterize male saviors. I don't think it's just one specific person and that's who male saviors are. But in the end, I think that many times it's going to be in different contexts. But the problem is all the harm that they are able to cause in all of those contexts.
Thank you, Valeria. Do we have a second question from the adjudicators?
Yeah, thank you, Valeria. I'm just interested in if you're saying the male savior isn't really the ideal, and I guess we would all accept that maybe the other extreme of a macho is not an ideal either. What is the ideal? I mean, how does a man do this right?
Okay, well, in my opinion, I would say that an ideal person who would help the fight for equality will be doing some things like the ones I mentioned, right? The first thing that they would need to do is decentering your activism. So essentially what this means is not trying to be the one in the spotlight, but rather look out for the change. So it looks like informing yourself of actual things that women are saying that they need, policies, fights, things like this. It looks like calling out sexist actions when you see them, not only going up to women and saying, I know what's best, I know how we can change things. It looks like actively participating in self-reflection on things that you do, essentially, because I think that's a huge part of the problem, that many times people want to do things on the outside, but the problem is that they're not reflecting on what's happening with themselves and some actions that may help enforce the patriarchy, like being a hero, because you continue putting this like dominant narrative of the men over the woman. I think that in essence, what that as a person who is especially like a man, which is the ones we're talking about right now, to actually help women and the fight for equality, it would be to understand that they're equal, that in any spectrum, women and men need to have the same opportunities, need to have the same voice, and need to actually understand what's happening. But when we're talking about feminism and fights for equality, they need to learn to raise women's voices and to understand that they probably still don't know the extent to which things affect us or how that looks in our perspective. So it's also listening to women, listening to these girls fighting and knowing that they can still learn from them, not trying to look like you're the only person who knows things or who can change things, but rather knowing that there's still a long way to learn and a long way to change things, that not only you will save the world, but that everyone needs to put their part on it.
Thank you, Valeria. Let's give a warm applause to Valeria. We are now going to continue with Ana Garcia. The title of her speech is My Heroic Love Died. Let's give a warm welcome to Silvana. ¿Así lo dejó?
Hola? Ah, sí, yeah. My heroic love died. As my life went by, I never thought he would die. Mortality seemed like a myth, a legend, so well known by the masses of people, but so distant to me, surreal. Life appears to be endless by his side, so divine, so lovable, so resplendent. The air seems lighter, the grass seems greener, and the sun seems warmer. Moments with him built up my joy. Time held a priceless value, as every second, every minute, and every hour held so much power. Time gave me everything. It made me smile, it made me feel, it made me love, but it also took it all away. It was my savior and creator, but it is now my enemy and devourer. How could I have 17 years of love from him, and now, as the days go by, my memory's all I have? Emptiness crawls through my body as I try to understand his disappearance. How could someone that has been there for you your entire life instantly leave and never return? Where do they go? Will I ever see them again? Thousands of questions glue my mind as I search and crave for hope. I try to find light in my heart, but as tears drip through my cheeks and land on my lips, darkness gains over. There's a hole in my soul that he's the only one that can, but he's gone. So no matter how hard I try, pain walks by my side. And everyone tries to heal and tries to understand. Hugs, kisses, and words arrive in my path, but I can't feel them. They pass through my mind, leaving nothing behind. There's a knot, and there's no one that can help me, just him, but he's gone. People think they understand, but till their heroic love dies, they'll never be able to understand. And I ask you, how would you feel? What would you do? Because losing this sort of love is something that no one can recover from. You can find a way to deal with it, but one does not recover. When you find this sort of love, the cruelness of the world transforms into something beatable. The breaths and steps you take are stronger, and it can be so hard to find, but so easy to lose. I cannot breathe, my eyes sting and I can barely see. Sadness never took such a true form. I go back and remember the day the news struck my door. I remember that the moments before were so peaceful, but as the words came out of the mouth, I was paralyzed. I felt nothing. My breath left my body. And the room emptied, and every blink I made brought me to reality. But reality didn't seem real. As the truth shook my body, the voices around me started to thunder in my ears. The conversation circled me, as if I were in the eye of a tornado. But still, I did not understand a thing. The only thing that was ringing in my mind was the fact that I would never see him again. The word forever never struck me so hard. I've always believed that forever is a long time. However, that makes forever have a true meaning. There is no going back. It's just the way it is. And I never felt so powerless, so useless. Little by little, I sank into sadness. And I cried and cried until I had no more tears, and there was just emptiness inside me. I walk the world looking up at the sky, day and night, and I wonder if he's up there looking back. I do not believe in an afterlife. I've never thought of it as a necessity. But now, my sadness talks, and I find myself writing to someone that is not here and won't be here just to find solace in my heart. I now try to relive the past. I see him laugh by my side. Closing my eyes bring him back to life. So many places, scents, stories, and sounds make revisit and remember him. It is then when I cannot help it. Even though I have cried myself dry, thousands of drops still splash out of my eyes. Confused. I cannot help but think of all the things I should have said. I could have spent more time with him. Oh, I miss him every day and every night. He taught me so much, and I wish to have him by my side. I'll fight to see him again, because I can't accept that death took him from me so fast. I hope there was no goodbye, but just to see you later. You are my heroic love, and how I love you so much, David. Thank you.
Well done, Silvana. Now we're going to have some questions from the adjudicators. Do we have a question?
Okay. Silvana, thank you. How do you think we can deal with losses of like the one you're talking about?
What I would say is that everyone deals with it in a different way. We all have different perspectives from the world, and even though as we lived the exact same thing, we made the same steps and everything, I would still see that everyone has a different perspective, and like our history and like how we see it will be completely different, even though we did the same things. So with death, I think that there's really I could give you some tips on how I made it work for me and how I sort of deal with it, but I still think that it might not be the best way for you because everyone's different and everyone grieves in a different way. Like for me, writing or things like that, but maybe for someone is crying or, I don't know, going to church or something like that. I see, I dedicated my speech to my uncle who passed away last year, but I see how my mom deals with it and how I deal with it. It was the same person, but still, it is completely different how we grieve with it. So I guess there's really sort of no answer to that because it's just till it happens to you, which I hope not at any time soon, you'll just have to find a way where your mind and your body feel in peace, sort of a way like that.
Thank you, Silvana. Thank you. Very poetic. My question is, do you think sometimes we're attracted to this kind of loss so that we can play the victim?
Sort of we wanted it to happen, sort of that way? Yes. I don't think so. I guess maybe in order to talk about it or just maybe make people feel like with you or maybe get more attention might be sort of like a way that we might think that that could help us. But still, like, for someone like really important to you or things like that, I guess like no one really is attracted to it. Maybe thinking about like when like one of your family members or like someone really close to you is like just not spending a good time, you know, when they're like laying in bed in a hospital, maybe not attracted, but you do wish for them to just die, for them not to still be in harm, like in pain. But I don't think that no one is attracted to this sort of loss because, I mean, you could be very poetic with it and things like that, and you can maybe write things from that, but still, I feel it is a loss that it is really hard, and I do think that no one really recovers. So I just really don't think anyone wishes that upon themselves or to anyone, really.
Thank you, Silvana. Wonderful speech. We are now going to continue with Danielle Diaz. The title of her speech is Imperative. Welcome, Danielle.
I'm not that tall, so I'm gonna, yes. Hi? Yes. Have you ever felt so alone that the dark seems so bright that you close your eyes? Tears running down your face that make the world a mere maze, and constant pain that numbs the brain. I used to be a boy who was unable to speak in front of people, stuttering all the time and too ashamed to be themselves. Reality is a hard subject. When everything is against us, the only thing that can save you, our ignorance becomes bliss and our only friend. There are only a couple of things that can save you now. Superman is one of them. But we do not live in a superhero society. We live in a world with humans and their rotten morals. So in the end, what is it that we are left with? It is not that we expect too much, we just ask for what we need. The depression behind the scars, the anxiety caused by uncertainty, and the fear under the casket. All of this are representations of ours and yours and my fears. The people we look up to, be that God, a movie star, your parents, they're all the representations. As they can be what we want to achieve, they are also the reminders of the things that we haven't. Depressive disorders. 21 million US adults had at least one major depressive episode. Disruptive mood dysregulated disorder, major depressive disorder, persistent dysphoric disorder, premenstrual dysphoric. I can continue telling you what the DSM-5 says, from bipolar and related disorders to gender dysphoria and personality disorders. The DSM-5, the book used by psychiatrists and other medical staff for the recollection of symptoms and disorders, as they can tell you a lot of characteristics of an individual, such as impairment, the fact that it is just a reminder that humans are imperfect. It is the fact that it is a reminder of the false advertisements that humans are perfect. I seem to act with borderline characteristics. I want a beautiful relationship, just like everyone else, a prince or princess that lift us and save us from this void we call reality. We expect and put so much pressure on the new Mrs. and Mr., and yet When it happens, I run away. I don't deserve it. They are better off without me. I am too annoying for them. The constant dismissal is too scary for me to have. Heroes are not the flame in the fireplace. They're the burning wood consumed by the heat of the spotlight. Ellen DeGeneres proved to us that the LGBTQ community has an opportunity with the public. My parents giving me so much since the moment I am born. J.K. Rowling, a feminist known by a lot of people. 1. Proved to be human. Ellen proved to be human the moment she showed us how she acted with her cast. 2. My parents proved to be human the moment they showed me that they were unable to understand every feeling that I have. 3. J.K. Rowling Twitters rolling around with transphobic Twitters. This is the moment where I change from third person into first person. I will never be my own heroine. I do not want to live like a goddess or die as a heroine. I wish to be remembered as a human, and I will make myself as small as I have to in front of you to prove to you that. They say, why be a queen when you can live as a goddess? I am none of those. I am an underwater flower that it is carried away by the sea. The tide is the pressure that I put on myself to prove to you that I'm worth it. While I try to be my own heroine, I become my worst villain. Depression, bringing the pressure from the past, and anxiety, the pressure I put on the future. But now I am not taking a step closer to be as beautiful as Aphrodite, strong as Artemisa, and as intelligent as Athena. I am not here to meet your expectations. I am here to take a step closer to becoming the one that I want to be. And I end this speech by repeating myself. I am not a small boy, too scared to in front of people.
Thank you, Danny. Do we have questions from the adjudicators?
Hi, thank you for your speech. What advice would you give to kids that want to become their own heroes?
I don't think that the word that you should choose is heroes. I think that when you say heroes or like this intense word such as goddess means a lot. It brings them to a point in which they can't know what it is actually reality. As to why I chose to bring in my speech the Greek goddess. They are such as imperfect as they prove as certain individuals prove with the story of Medusa. But at the same time, they try to be as strong in the areas that they're supposed to. And that is the reason as to why I say I am not my own hero.
Thank you, Danny. Do you feel that sometimes the passion you clearly have for your subject gets in the way of you getting your message across the way you would like to?
Probably. One of the problems with this speech in specific that I was thinking throughout it is an emotional-based speech. It brings experiences, a huge amount of traumatic things that have happened or that I have had to live. So in the end, it is just a speech that it is based throughout emotions that are really, really chaotic. As to why the message that I am trying to convey is not necessarily an orderly message. It is mostly a chaotic message filled with emotions.
Round of applause. Okay, now we're going to continue with Andrea Juarez. The title of her speech is A Hero for Me. Andrea, Come join us.
Thank you. How many times have we heard the term hero? I bet that lots of times, right? In the previous speeches, probably in the movies. But whenever we think about a hero, what comes to our mind? For some people that are into comics, what might come into your mind is the fact of maybe Wonder Woman or Superman. And maybe if you're not into comics, what might come into your mind are doctors, are nurses, are these people that risk your life. See the constant in here? We can see how whenever we think about heroes, what first comes into our mind is external people. We often look outside for someone to save us. So whenever we fall, we always look and we always wait for someone else to pick us up. But take a notice in here. Most of the times, we do not look into ourselves. We do not look into what we have and how we can save ourselves. Because we always expect, and we always, or most of the time, wait for someone else to come and pick us up. And you know what? That is the easiest thing we can do. The easiest thing that we can do is blame others. Let's make excuses and blame others for our problems, for our situations. But you think that's the only solution for our problems? No, it's not. Why? Because we decide where to be. We decide our position. We decide what to do. So it's not just blaming another person. It's not just blaming a third person that just comes and, oh, it's because you did that is why I'm here. It's not like that. You know, I want to quote something. Most of the times, whenever we think of our problems, or we blame another person, or we even blame the world. But I want to make a quote in here by Mark Twain, an American writer, that the world doesn't owe us anything. Why? Because the world was already in here when we came. So it's not just the matter that my situation is all about because the world decided to put me here. Because the world was already in here. We act like victims. But who has the solution? No one else. No one else is going to come and save us but ourselves. Now, most of the time, whenever we look for a hero, we often look to ourselves and be harsh to ourselves. We take into consideration and all the things that we don't have. But guess something? It is also important to look at our strengths. It is also important to look what we have to give. And you know something? We achieve our things by ourselves. We might need help from other people. Yeah, that's right. But who gets the solution? Us. Therefore, I want to also add a quote in here by Shola Richard that says, we owe it ourselves to make those things happen for us. But who makes this thing happen? Us. Us with our decisions, our paths. We have lived through a lot. And that's why we got where we are right now. We have our answers. They might be deep, yes. They might be hard to find, yes. But we, after all, we do have them. Our stories of losses, failings, can and or might become inspirational reminders to us of our resilience and survival. Let's focus on our strengths and our wisdom that we have acquired through all this living that have grown in us with all these difficulties. Because without these difficulties, where would we be? We would be lost. But you know something? Thanks for these difficulties, where we are right now. These difficulties have placed us. And guess who have gone through them? Us. It's not the third person. It's not Superman that's going to come and save you. It is us. We have chosen this path. And with this, I want to add that why should we wait for other people to save our story? Why should we wait for other people to save and tell our story if we have the answers? Again, it might be hard to get them. No one said it's not. If it were easy, then no one would have any problems. But you know something? Because we have these answers that lie really deep within us, are the ones that will take us out and keep us going forward. I want to also note
that, yeah, we might need help. Also, teamwork is essential to get to our solutions. We can also get inspiration from someone else, and that's completely valid. Because after all, we're humans. We need to complement ourselves. Also, and I want to add another quote, that the best day of your life is the one on which you decide your own life is your own. No apologies or excuses. The gift of life is yours. It's an amazing journey, and you alone are responsible for the quality of it. It's a quote from Dan Sandra, and what it means, it's your life, it's your choices. Then why wait for someone else? Why wait for someone else to save your life if you can do it your own? It might be hard, yes, but you can do it. It's achievable. Therefore, are you going to be the hero of your own story, or are you going to leave the role for someone else? Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, for your speech. Now, adjudicators, do you have a question from Andrea? Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, Andrea. This is a slightly unfair question, maybe, but you're talking about everybody can be a hero, but do you think some people are villains rather than heroes?
Thank you for your question. To a certain degree, I believe that having this villain would also lie within us, because if we have this part about being a hero, we can also have this part of being a villain inside us. These are tricks that might come into our mind, because these can be some tricks that we can hear somewhere else, or we can be some ideologies that might come into us. So after all, I believe that, yeah, we can be our own heroes and also our own villains. Thank you.
What would you suggest to someone that is trying to be their own hero? You know, just sometimes just like can't. You know, like, what would you these people to try to be?
Okay, thank you. First of all, what I would suggest is to maybe lay out your own problems. It is also valid to look for other people to help you. It is also valid to look for inspiration that might not be your friend, but might be someone else that might live through your own situations, because this inspiration will also help you grow. And maybe if you do not copy the whole mechanism they did to get out of their problems or to save themselves, what they can do is get some ideas and implement them in their own context. So that's my answer for that question, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Okay, we are now going to welcome Alexa Bravo. The title of her speech is One Family, Lots of Expectations. Join us, Alexa.
Growing up, I admired my cousin. I idolized her. We did everything small girls do together. We had sleepovers, we played with our toys, we exchanged stories, we gossiped. We did everything that little girls did together. And then a couple of months ago, we went to have lunch, and we started talking about religion, as families do. And in this conversation, something stood out to me. She was talking about taking the demon out of a person in her temple. And now, of course, when it hit me that she was talking about an exorcism, my immediate reaction was thinking about blood spewing. I was thinking about vomit everywhere, head spinning, full-on movie. But then something else hit me, something that impacted me even more. She was talking about exorcising a gay couple. Now, we were raised in completely different families. Her family would go to temple every Saturday. They believed in God and they were very religious. In my family, the closest thing to a holy book was the Lord of the Rings trilogy. As I said, very different families. And now you would think I no longer get along with her. We're no longer friends. I no longer have this connection to her. But I do. She is still my hero. Because what is a hero if not someone you admire, someone you look up to, someone you strive to be like, someone you love? And who do we do all of this to most?
our families, because our families are these people who are there for us. Our families are those people who we think we know the best because we've grown up with them, we've grown up alongside them. And I'm not just talking about you towards your parents as my parents are my heroes, because sure, that exists. But I'm also talking about your grandparents, your cousins, your siblings, and your children. These are the people you expect things from. These are the people who you love and admire and you want to be like. These are the people who you want the best for because you love them. And of course, sometimes this love, these expectations become real. These expectations come with this admiration. Your heroes are the ones who you think you know best, who you think will do exactly what you think, because you love them, because you want these things for them. This is a romanticized idea of who we love, a romanticized idea of the people we know as heroes. Because heroes aren't always wizards, heroes aren't always Gandalf. Heroes are ordinary people who are impacting our lives. So, these expectations, sure, they can be true, and we are sure of it. We are sure this is who the person is because we must know them better than anyone else, right? I mean, they're our parents, our siblings. But sometimes, this isn't true. Sometimes these expectations are challenged by things that completely shatter our idea of who we think they are. Parents expect their children to be straight. Children expect their parents to always be there for them. But sometimes this isn't true. Children can be gay. Parents sometimes won't accept them. And this can be for the better or for the worse. In Canada, 25 to 40% of homeless youth is LGBTQ. Because people can't understand that this reality that they've created of someone else, this romanticized idea, isn't true. They can't cope with the idea that, hey, maybe you're wrong. Maybe it's not what, their life is not gonna be what you hoped it would be. Maybe they won't grow up, have children. Maybe they won't get married. Maybe they're different to what you expect. And this creates harm, pain. But this can also bring good things. When I came out to my grandmother, I was terrified. I was pacing up and down my room. I was thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what is she gonna think? What is she gonna say? And then I did come out to her. And she loved me and accepted me in spite and because of this thing that she did not expect from me. But she loved. She learned to grow with me. She learned to grow alongside me and see my change as something that will create happiness and joy in me. Not just this idea she had when I was a baby, because not everyone's gonna stay a baby, obviously not, that is basic biology. So when we grow, people should grow with us. Our families should understand that not everything's gonna be how you expected it. And we understand, trust me, we understand that you do it because you love us, because you want us to have this life, this fairy tale life that you had. But sometimes this fairy tale life is something else. Sometimes you don't see yourself marrying someone who is a man. Sometimes your life is gonna be completely different. And we should accept this. We should love the changes we see in our lives. We should love the changes people experience. We should accept and evolve as them. Because what is being a human? What is growing up if not evolving and accepting how other people evolve? Thank you.
Thank you, Alexa. Do we have questions from adjudicators? Thank you, David.
Alexa, thank you for that, that was great. Could you tell us how your public speaking helps you express your ideas and your feelings?
Yes, of course. Well, I think that public speaking gives a certain structure to ideas because you have to get up here, and I feel this and I think this when I'm out in the street, when I'm talking to my grandmother, talking to my family. But here I have to have a certain order. I have to order my ideas and organize them. And this allows me to express and have a direct outlet where I can say something, not only to people who I know directly to, but to a crowd. Public speaking allows me to express these ideas through a direct forum and makes me have a complete panorama of what I'm trying to say. And so, I think that overall, public speaking is a direct outlet for all of us to express our ideas and emotions without, going off topic or having this emotional connection to the person, because right now I'm talking to a jury who I have no emotional connection to. And well, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alexa. Some of what you're talking about, I think, is the way that we judge people. How can you stop doing that? Do you think it's possible?
I think it's impossible. Everyone has a certain idea. When I look at someone, I immediately have a picture of what I've been told someone should be because of what I see in them. However, I think that if we open our panorama, if we get to know new people, and if we understand that people are constantly changing, this judgment will not disappear, but we can learn to grow alongside it. So we can learn to change our judgments, to challenge our judgments, and understand that our judgments, although they are there, are not finite, and they are not finally what the person is. So I think that changing our panorama, broadening our perspectives, won't make judgments disappear, but it will allow us to have different views as the different people change.
Thank you, Alexa. Let's give a warm applause. Okay, our last competitor is Maria Gomber. She is joining us online from New Mexico, and the title of her speech is The SARS Children's Church. Welcome, Maria.
Every time I have to file a government document or unsubscribe from a telemarketing scam, I take up an extra 45 seconds spelling out my second last name. The culprit are my immigrants' parents and their commitment to integration and assimilation. My two very, very Slavic parents thought it was imperative for me to have a Mexican name. 2 first names, 2 last names, and 456,342 nicknames. With a name like Alexandra Maria Gomber-Shkolnikova, they knew that I was gonna. It's too difficult. Sometimes I just go by Gomberg. Shkolnikova is so difficult because it's so obviously Russian, so stereotypically Slavic, but so serendipitously Jewish. It turns out that assimilation which I was talking about runs deep in my family history. And this is a short story about how, against all odds, my ancestors regained their identity, integrity, and pride. This is a story of unspoken, melancholy heroism, synonymous with survival. This is the story of the Cantonists, the Tsar's children who were conscripted to a lifetime of mendacity and lies, and a story of how they broke the cycle. The tale begins in 1721. Tsar Peter the Great of Russia decided to make Russia, just like him, great again. This required an extraordinary military garrison. Think massive, absurd, obscene, ready to conquer the great empires of the time. Think Sweden. Yes, Sweden was great in the 18th century. Prussia, think the Ottoman Empire. These were modern empires with state-of-the-art ships and guns. Russia was basically a bunch of dry farmland inhabited by radical Orthodox Christians and the few people that they chose to hate. And so, in 1721, Peter the Great of Russia realized that if his army was indeed going to be one of the great armies of Europe, he had to have an extraordinary amount of manpower. And Peter the Great of Russia's great solution was to conscript as many young soldiers as possible to create a steady supply of young Russian boys who would turn 18 right in time for the next battle. With this in mind, Peter created the Cantonist school system. He created a large network of military schools where he could conscript boys as young as 6 and teach them the virtues of bellic conflict. Kids would be taught to read, write, count, shoot cannons, stab opponents, and give up their belief systems for the greatness of modern Russian empires. Lovely. Unfortunately, most people who were considered people in the empire were unwilling to give up their sons to the beast, and so Peter had to find a new alternative. And he found the Jews. Not exactly considered Russian, well, not exactly considered people, they were the perfect candidates. Unfortunately, they weren't exactly prepared to sacrifice themselves for the nation, so Peter the Great made the young Jewish boys by making them Orthodox Christian, and not those few people that they chose to hate. Thousands upon thousands of boys as young as 6 went through the system, and some of those boys had children with the last name Shkolnikova. You see, beyond spelling lies meaning. Szkola in Russian means school, in this case the Cantonist Military Academy. And when my grandfather's grandfather went to the Cantonist school, that became his identity. And with it, his last name. The school. Not his father, not his hometown somewhere in the east, not his younger sister, not the horses he used to feed, not the faith that he used to subscribe to. No, he wasn't deserving of an identity. He was not deserving of Judaism. My grandfather's grandfather was nothing but a Cantonist, born to die for a country that he never considered his own. But he broke the cycle dutifully after 25 years in the Cantonist system. He returned home and became a Jew again. The Cantonists were not the only children whose childhoods were plagued by an increasingly oppressive military system. My roommate's dad was a child soldier fighting for the rights of the Karen people without being able to put his home country of Burma on a map. And in modern Russia, 18-year-old boys are forced to kill other 18-year-old Ukrainian boys for a cause they have no reason to believe in. We ask too much of our heroes. We ask them to be heroes in the first place. We ask kids who can barely count, who were playing checkers just 2 weeks ago, who have never fallen in love, and who do not know who they are, to fight for nations where they don't belong. I see the Cantonists as heroes, but not because of the wars that they fought or the skills that they acquired, but because of their ability to come out on the other side as themselves. Conscripted for nearly 25 years, my great-great-great-grandfather and others like him returned to their homesteads as Jews, not as Christians and not as Cantonists. My Cantonist ancestors made me think that I shouldn't just go by Maria. I can go by Masha, and just because Gomberg is simpler doesn't mean that I should erase Shkolnikova from my identity. Assimilation is not heroism. Perseverance in spite of the situation at hand is. And so now I see that first S in Shkolnikova that used to stand for staro, stand for strength and perseverance. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Do we have questions from the adjudicators? Sergio.
Thank you, Maria. So do you believe there is a way for people, for example, that are, or soldiers in an army to resist assimilation, like to remain, humans and not be consumed totally by an institution?
I mean, I think that my family history is definitely a representation of that fact. It's a success story, but I think it's a rare occasion in which that happens. And we can't expect everybody to just avoid assimilation because of some perseverance and heroism that pushes them forward. Our circumstances don't always allow for that. But what I do believe is that there is some innate power within culture and within cultural identity. And this doesn't only apply to the Jews. Under the Cantonist system, that applied to the Poles. It still applies to people who retain their identities despite being conscribed to Catholic school systems, or who are able to retain their identities despite being put through systems of conversion therapy. I think that our communities and the relationships that we build within them, and more importantly, how we relate to those relationships and how we let those relationships form us, really inform how we act in situations in which our actions are being compromised. So I think that staying true to your roots, even though not always possible, might happen just naturally because of the relationship that we have with our cultural identities that we build through time, effort, and a lot of love.
Thank you, Maria. Do we have another questions from the adjudicators? Thank you, Simon.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maria. How does it feel with your background living in a place like the States? I mean, how do you kind of reconcile this English-speaking majority culture with all the history of your family? I mean, how do you kind of feel about that when you're kind of looking at the States and looking back in time to all this history you've told us about?
Yes, of course. I think that is a really interesting question, and it's something that I struggle a lot with and that I work really hard on. So first things first, I should be very open in saying that I live in New Mexico, which is a minority majority state. It is the 49th state behind, like Mississippi is the only state behind it for practically everything, for education, for healthcare, for like basically any public service provided, in part because New Mexico is home to a lot of independent cultures and a lot of independent languages. And also I should be very transparent in saying that I go to international school here. I go to international boarding school where I'm representing Mexico more than I'm representing my Russian, my Jewish ancestors and roots. So I think that is a lot of cultures mixed in, right? Because we are involving Native American cultures, we are involving US American cultures, we're involving my background and my nationality. And I think that sometimes it feels to me that these are not necessarily reconcilable and they're necessarily alienated and separated. And I think that's something that has really helped me being in the United States and being surrounded by US Americans that don't necessarily like understand the background that I'm coming from and have a very different, very biased perspective, is I reconcile it by really informing and talking about my cultures, my identities. And I'm really lucky because I live in a place where people are really open to dialogue. And most of the people who are here because they're interested to learn about different cultures and are interested to really listen. But I think that the way that I really think about like being in an Anglo-Saxon community, more or less, and a way in which I reconcile being in the United States is because I think that I do a pretty good job of balancing the act. I think I stay true to myself, and at the same time I enjoy the luxuries of America in some capacity, and I'm really grateful for the education that I'm getting there, but I still like listen to my family's stories very intently and tell them here, giving context. And now that the situation in Ukraine is unfolding, I feel like I have a responsibility to act as a sort of informant and to talk about my perspectives and to really highlight the real horrors that are happening in Ukraine and like show this perspective of the anti-Putinist Russia from my background. And when the issues happen in Mexico, I do the same. And I think by acting as the sort of an informant, I think I'm doing more good than harm by being here.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you all for your great speeches. Now it is time to deliberate. So I'm going to ask the adjudicators to join me at the library. Participants, please follow my partner Sandra, because we're going to ask you some questions. And we'll be back shortly. Thank you. We are back. And in order to announce the prizes, let's welcome Valeria, David, and Simon. Please come join us.
Well, first of all, thank you to all the speakers. It was very interesting and very nourishing hearing your speeches, sharing all of this information and all of these journeys with us. And well, after very good deliberation, the third place of this category goes to Valeria Patiño.
Honor to announce the third place. And this was, we deliberated over this for quite some time. It was very, very close. And I congratulate all of you for the courage to be up here. It's not easy to stand up in front of people and talk about very personal things. But second place goes to Alexa Bravo. Congratulations.
Well, just to repeat what my two fellow adjudicators have just said, thank you everybody for your participation. It was a very interesting experience for me. I haven't done this before, just to hear everybody and follow the speeches. It is a challenge to stand up in public and under pressure speak for such a short time and get it all together. So everybody has my admiration and respect. The first prize, which is a packet of books, a course in debate, and the person who will represent Mexico in the ESU international competition is Maria Gomberg. Congratulations, Maria.
Thank you. Thank you to the ESU. This was a really amazing public speaking tournament and a really awesome experience. And I'm really glad I got to participate in it, and I'm really thankful. Thank you so much.
All right, just to finish up, we are going to hand out our certificates, so if you can help me deliver them. So first, and so we can also have a picture of all the participants. Alexa Bravo, can you please come and get your certificate? Daniel Diaz, please come and get your certificate. Who's next? Silvana Garcia, please come get your certificate. And Andrea Juarez. Okay, and now we're going to have a picture. So can the panel please join us, Sergio, Clive? Congratulations, participants. We're absolutely thrilled to have you here and deliver your speeches, and we can't wait to see you next year. So congrats, here. Okay, so that will be, thank you again. Good morning, everyone. It is my greatest pleasure to welcome you all to the second ever the Anglo-ESU Public Speaking Competition. We started this competition 2 years ago in March 2020, 1 week before the pandemic hit Mexico and changed the world as we knew it. Originally, this competition had just 2 categories for students under 20 years old. If you stay tuned, you'll see them later today. But after learning that we have students joining the Anglo to learn English at the tender age of 74 years, proving that phrase that says, "You're only as young as you feel," is why we stand here proudly bringing this competition back with a category aimed exclusively for our older Anglo students. The Anglo-ESU Public Speaking Competition is one of the main social impact programs, as the mission of the Anglo-Mexican Foundation is to transform people's lives by building bridges, trust, and connecting cultures. This year, we had 74 participants joining from 7 states of our country, and even including a participant abroad. Words have power, and public speaking is a wonderful skill that helps to improve communication skills by critical thinking while building self-esteem, since being able to speak in front of a crowd is a huge accomplishment. Trust me. Before we begin, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all the people that were involved in this competition. On behalf of the Anglo Arts team, we would like to thank everyone at the Anglo-Mexican Foundation community, the English-Speaking Union Mexico, and the Asociación Mexicana de Debate for helping us make this happen. And now, let's introduce our adjudicators. From Asociación Mexicana de Debate, Ana Sofía Castellanos, Directora Académica Escolar, joining us online. Welcome, Caste. Now, from the Anglo-Mexican Foundation, we have Gaby Gonzalez, our Senior Academic Service Manager. Thank you. And Ileana Franco, Center Exams Managers from International Exams and Courses Abroad. Thank you all. Now, For all of you who are joining us for the first time, let me explain you how the competition works. Our participants previously wrote and delivered a 5-minute speech. The title and content are related to the themes of the competition. They interpreted the theme in any way they want, and today, after 2 weeks of working it, they will present it at this grand final. After they deliver their speech, our adjudicators will ask them 2 questions, and finally, they will be graded on the following rubrics: expression and delivery, reason and analysis, organization and prioritization, and listening and response. Our first 2 competitors developed the theme, "We expect too much from our heroes." Let's welcome Anwar Nigenda with the title of the speech, Anonymous Heroes. Welcome, Anwar. Adelante. You're going to have a timer, if you prefer. Sandra is your timer.
Okay, so hello everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Anwar, and I'm too grateful to stay here. I'm very happy, and I want to share some of my thoughts. The title of my speech is Anonymous Heroes. So, firstly, what is the difference between superheroes and heroes? According to the dictionary, heroes is a person who performs extraordinary feats or who produces admiration for his qualities. A superhero has to have a superpower like flying, see through the walls, magician powers, like a control thing without touching it. So some people get paralyzed when they are being afraid for something. And other people react against to the adverse situation, but not is in the best way in such a many cases, but it's at least they can do something. In my humble opinion, a hero you can become one of them if you can control your emotion and your feelings. But we cannot decide what we feel or what we feel inside ourselves, but we can choose the action and the attitude we made it against those situations. So I think one of the purposes of the comics is to encourage the people's behavior, to imitate and make some benefits, and to make some action to benefit the society. So you can see those noble attitudes in comics, cartoons, like humility, sacrifice, brave, sincerity. Let me to bring one of my memories. 5 years ago, there was an earthquake in Mexico City. I was in university in Guamas, Capuzalco. It's at Guamas, Capuzalco. So I remember see so many buildings collapse, and whatever I turn my head, I see people crying, yelling, painful and frustration situations. So I saw many people gathered together and tried to help them. To the other one were trapped in the rumbles. Other people tried to, and I was wounded that day, but I want to help them by bring them some bottle of waters, to take some wounded people to the hospital, and to offer shelter, tending a camp to paramedics see the wounded people. In a pandemic situation, the doctor became my heroes because they were in the fire line. So I lost many friends in that time. One of them was a doctor. They called me every night, every single night, and I remember that we spent a lot of time speaking of the situation. One day, my phone stopped ringing. So after 2 days, I called his family, and they give me the bad news. He passed away. He got infected by COVID virus, so he passed away. So when I was a kid, I admired Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, and right now, my friends and my family becoming to my heroes. One of the messages I received from the comics is being empathic with the society. Those people mentioned in my speech are like you and me. They're not has a superpower. So the only superpower they have is to encourage to do something over the feelings the situation is aroused. If you ask me, what do you expect from your heroes? Probably I reply, I don't know. But I'm totally surely they do what it takes. Even they can put their lives in risks to help me. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Anwar, for your speech. Now we're going to have questions from the adjudicators. To begin the questions, I would like Gaby Gonzalez to help us with the first question to Anwar. Gaby, go ahead.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Anwar. I would like to ask you, what do you think about this? How can citizens be heroes in their communities?
As I mentioned in my speech, to do something in benefit to the society. I think if you have the touch, if you have the contact with the people and try to be empathic, that empathy encourages you to help to others. And probably, just probably, you give a hand to become their lives more easy. Okay.
Thank you, Anwar. And now we're going to listen to the question from Sofia Castellanos, that she is live from Guadalajara. Sofia, go ahead.
So, Anwar, I have a question for you. If you had to choose to be a superhero in real life, which one would you be and why?
Okay, so I think I probably choose to be a Batman because he has the brave that I don't have to face a scary situation. So I would probably try to become a Batman. Or if you allow me to express, from the Greek mythology, I would like to be Hercules because they have a tremendous force, and I like those kind of gifts that they have, that he have.
Wonderful, Anwar. Thank you so much. Thank you for your speech. Give it a clap. Okay, now it's time for our second competitor. We would like to invite Rafael Sandoval to deliver the speech titled My Heroes, the Doctors. Welcome, Rafa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My heroes, the doctors. I want to express my admiration for the doctors, those who have remained for almost 2 years caring for people who are dying of coronavirus, and that our government sometimes even despise them and call them mercenaries. The doctors who have sacrificed even their health to help many patients in hospitals, who intubate many and works for hours and hours at the risk of dying and being intubated too. For me, they are the actual heroes. Doctors have been died, they have been fired, and sometimes they have been attacked, but they are still there. Try to combat a virus that it is still there and will continue for we don't know how long. But they are still there and will continue because they like to help something to live and something to die. Let's admire the doctors. I'm not a doctor, but I admire that they are there in this hospital with dozens of people dying, and they are there. It's a miracle that they are there with their few medicines and serving people every day since the spring of 2020. There are doctors who don't pay a lot. Calls our doctors mercenaries. They are admirable, and I don't admire them so much for the result. I admire them for the facts. Perhaps their situation has not been controlled, but the doctors are still there, and people should be grateful. As long as there are doctors, we have a little hope. Hope gives me knowing that they are doctors there, and they will continue to be there, healing and helping as they can. We admire the doctors despite everything. They have always been this during these dark and difficult years. I don't know them personally, but I know that their situation is difficult, and the government does not make easy it. Let's hope that one day those poor doctors who have survived will be treated with more respect by many. They don't ask for respect, but they deserve it because they don't sleep or eat, and they are still there. They continue working on Easter, on vacations, and they never stop. These people cannot be called mercenaries. Call other mercenaries, but not those doctors who do not rest, never, and their children and parents do not see it, and they are still there and help. They are my heroes because I could not be like this for almost 2 years watching people die and thinking who will die next. Let's just give me thanks for those heroes that we don't know how, no, but who are there. For me, they are not mercenaries. They are my heroes, my real heroes, and they deserve a lot of respect from you. A round of applause for these doctors. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rafa, for your wonderful speech. Now, we're going to come to the round of questions. Ileana, if you please.
You. Rafa, what is the main reason why people do not value the sacrifices that these doctors have made, in your opinion?
It's a complex answer, but I suppose that most of the problem is the bad education from some people, and the idea that the people underestimate a lot of these people, doctors, professors, and these things, because the problem is the bad education in my country, and this is a big problem. And maybe this is the reason, because especially in Mexico, some people attacked the doctors the last year.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to continue with a question from Gabi.
Thank you, Angie. Hi, Rafa. I would like to ask you the following question. If you had the power to recognize the doctor's commitment during this pandemic period, what would you do?
For example, first, I suppose that these doctors need better installations. I need better medicines because some of these hospitals don't have a lot of medicines, better infrastructure in the hospitals, and obviously, some of these doctors need a good job with security, with better salaries and better situations, because the doctors is important people, and they offer a lot of things for the people in this society.
Thank you, Rafa. Let's give a warm round of applause to Rafa. Great. We're now going to continue to a different theme. Mariana online is joining us to present the theme, Our Real Choices Are Made Without Us Realizing. And the title of her speech is, Have you ever thought that we're living our best moment? Let's listen to Mariana.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me do this speech while I'm not at the Anglo. But okay, I'll start. So, have you ever thought about stuff you know or skills you have are not enough, or you don't enjoy some moments thinking about whether in the future are going to be better? I mean this, if you keep developing skills or learning more stuff about some topics just because you don't know enough. I'm mentioning this because it happens to me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm 100% sure one of us has had feelings at least once. The first thing I want to mention is that I don't consider having just one peak moment. We have plenty of them during our entire lives. As it is well known, this is a real topic. Since women are always suffering many obstacles in different ambits in general during our lives regarding the things we do and how we do them. To say this in academic words, I will help myself with a Montana. It is described as having a persistent feeling of lack of competence and intelligence, which is derived by feeling our achievements that are unfounded and that they were just luck. Many successful women experience this strange phenomenon in which they suffer from feelings of inadequacy in comparison to others in many fields. So this is not new. Nowadays, it might be easy to talk about, but there has been some research since the 70s that women have feel undervalued. So next, I would like to talk about some academic sources, again, to mention different ways the syndrome has been experienced, because it comes in many different ways. The perfectionist who sets excessively high goals from themselves and are always fixing in flaws instead of strengths. The superwoman who usually overwork and push themselves, but they are covering up some insecurities. The natural geniuses who set high goals and feel crushed when they don't meet them. Also, the soloist who usually works by their own and won't ask for help. And the last one is the experts who are never satisfied with their level of understanding. I would like to share one of my many situations I have lived in. I was on a tour with a dance company to which I still belong. My circumstances were complicated for so many reasons. I was recovering from a broken ankle, and of course, I wasn't in the same conditions as my teammates. I was also in treatment for the recent fracture, and obviously, I wasn't able to do many activities, so my physical health declined. I was only able to see the negative side of this situation because my mind was focusing on that. But the reality was, yeah, sure. So, have you ever thought about stuff you know or skills you have not enough? Or you don't enjoy some moments thinking about whether in the future are going to be better? I mean, if you keep developing skills or learning more about some topics just because you don't think you know enough. I'm mentioning this because it happens to me, and I'm 100% sure I'm not the only one. So I'm 100% sure each of us had had that feeling at least once. My name is Mariana Liz, and I'm here to talk about how we don't think about we are living our best moments. The first thing I want to mention is that I consider having just one peak moment. We have plenty of them during our entire life. In the very beginning, I would like to talk about imposter syndrome. As it is well known, this is a real topic. Several different ambits during our lives regarding the things we do and how we do them. So to say this, using academic words, I will help myself with the definition of the imposter syndrome in an article of the University of Montana. It is described as having a persisting feeling of lack of competence and intelligence, which is derived by the feeling that our achievements are unfounded and they were just luck. Many successful, intelligent women experience this strange phenomenon, which they suffer from feelings of inadequacy in comparison to others in many fields. This is not new. Nowadays, it might be easy to talk about it, but there has been some research since the 70s that women felt undervalued. Next, I would like to talk about some academic sources again, to mention different ways the syndrome has been experienced, because it comes in many different ways. The perfectionists who set excessively high goals for themselves and are always fixated in instincts instead of strength. The superwoman who usually overwork and push themselves, but they are covering some insecurities. The natural geniuses who usually overwork and push themselves, but usually set high goals, and they feel crushed when they don't meet them. The soloist who usually prefers to work alone and won't ask for help, and the experts who are never satisfied with their level of understanding. So I would like to share one of my many situations I have lived in. I was in a tour with a dance company to which I still belong. My circumstances were complicated for many reasons. I was recovering from a broken ankle, and of course I wasn't in the same condition then as my teammates. I was also in treatment for the recent fracture, and obviously I wasn't able to do many activities, so my physical health declined. I was only able to see the negative side of this situation because my mind was focusing on that. But the reality was a different one. I did have some other skills, but I couldn't see them until many months later. I was able to form bonds by talking to many people from different countries. I show my bits of knowledge in aviation. I also share my culture and enjoy so many others. I was able to experience the world in many different ways that I had never imagined. The imposter syndrome made me think like I wasn't capable of achieving things I was able to do. This is one of my experiences. I know I live in privilege, but I also didn't have any other privilege. This doesn't mean we can feel the same way, and it's important to mention that all experiences are valid. Circling back to the initial point, the imposter syndrome and its relationship to living our best moment, I would like to share an experience that is not mine. I'm using a famous woman just because the vast majority of us know her, Maya Angelou, the civil rights activist, and the novel admitted so many times she feels like a fraud. So in conclusion, what we will help to overcome this syndrome the most is discussing it with other women and analyzing the reasons why we're feeling this way while talking about things we achieved so far. And also, as women, we need to be confident about what we are doing, being confident in ourselves and living the moment just because we are living the best one we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. We are now going to go into the round of questions. starting with a question from Ileana. Ileana, go ahead.
Thank you, Mariana. What kind of policies should companies establish to help women overcome imposter syndrome from the start and in general, all women in their companies?
Okay, well, talking about companies, I guess we need first to talk about schools. I completely sure that if we teach this to girls in elementary school or in high school, it may be overcome in different ways. That we didn't need to wait until we work or we are independent women. So, in my opinion, this would be the better option. But talking about companies, maybe some talks or maybe some discussion set up about how we are feeling and that we are not undervalue things we are doing.
Thank you, Mariana. Now we're going to have a question from Sofia online.
Cool. Well, my question for you is the next one. What advice would you give to the young woman who is listening to you right now regarding the opportunities that life presents to them?
Okay, I will say that it's normal. It's between quotes, it's a normal situation or a normal feeling. Having this sensation about not being confident on things we are doing. But one of my advice would be enjoy what are you doing and try to give your best. Because if you give your best, it's enough. You don't need to reach any other. You don't need to reach any other situation if you are giving your best.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mariana. Let's give a round of applause to Mariana. Thank you all three for your great speeches. Now it is time for the deliberation. So adjudicators, can you please join me? We'll be back after a brief moment. And participants, you will have a short interview with Sandra. So if you can follow Sandra, thank you. We're going to start with Ana Sofia telling us who won the third place. Ana Sofia, can you hear us?
Well, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to me to be here today. I believe that words are nothing if they do not know how to transmit them. And today we have shown that it is possible to change the world's perspective. Thank you to the power of these words. It's my turn to present the third place in this category. The third place will get a 50% scholarship in his or her next Anglo program. So, the first place in this category goes to Rafael Sandoval Hurtado. Congratulations.
It was a pleasure to listen to your speeches. And it's my pleasure to announce the winner of the second place. Second place is, for the speech, My Heroes, the Doctors. I'm sorry. Anonymous Heroes. Anwar Nihenda, 75 scholarship. Come on.
And the first place is for Mariana Ramirez in her speech, Have you ever thought we are living the best moment? In spite of it being rather difficult to appreciate the full development of Mariana's speech because of technical issues, I do have to say that Ana Sofia Castellan did hear her completely and was able to fill in the gaps for us. But it was also easy to appraise that Mariana she talked about sources. She had data and information. And when developing a speech, especially a speech in this kind of contest or context, it is important to make these references and to hold coherence to these references throughout. Mariana, you achieved this with flying colors. Congratulations to you. You're awarded a full scholarship for an Anglo course and also for a oratoria course. Thank you, and we really thank you at a distance. We hope that soon we'll be able to see you.
For the experience, I didn't know the Anglo has this type of experiences, but I appreciate a lot. I know my topic was a difficult one because I feel this way right now. I consider I couldn't achieve this, but also I thank for the opportunity of not being at the branch Antonio Casa and for being connected through Zoom. And that's all. Thanks, everyone.
Congratulations, participants. We hope that you're the stepping stone that will pave the way for more Anglo students to participate at the Anglo-ESU public speaking competition in years to come. Hear, hear. See you next year.